People deluded, I'm back again. I hope everyone's doing well and safe. I hope you and your loved ones are in great spirits. North London derby. It's a game that neither Arsenal nor Tottenham Hotspur want to lose. It's one of the most important games for the fans in the Premier League fixture calendar list. If there's two games, regardless of what Spurs or Arsenal are competing for, regardless of how their season ends in May or starts in August, if there's two games neither team wants to lose, it's the North London derby. You know, not to big up the derby, but let's be honest, it is the biggest game per se in terms of isolated football in the Premier League. It's one of the derbies where both clubs legitimately hate each other. It's a game where, you know, it tears up families apart, really. Speaking for myself in North London, there's a lot of family members I'm not speaking to, and I will not be speaking to if the result doesn't go our way on Sunday. You know, it's Postecoglou against Mikel Arteta. It's, you know, it's Gabriel Jesus against Romero, Kulusevski against Zinchenko, Benjamin White against Son. It's a game that has divided families and divided fan bases. It will be a fantastic game for the neutrals, as it always is. I'm not quite sure that extends to Arsenal or Tottenham Hotspur fans, but I think this is going to be a very big game beyond the obvious. I think there's going to be goals, controversy, drama. I believe both teams should be wary of the opposition, but also should be confident of getting a result in this game, really. Postecoglou's reinvigilated Tottenham Hotspur. Mikel Arteta has been doing the same for a few years. Both teams are unbeaten. There's only one Invincibles. Both teams are in great form. You know, Spurs are at the early stage of their sort of turnover under him, but they're playing good football. There's inverted fullbacks. They're playing with intensity. Mikel Arteta is, you know, we're one of the best teams in England at this moment in time, regardless. The Emirates Stadium will host a showdown for the ages, in my opinion. Don't forget to hit the like button. Now, Postecoglou, it's hard to dislike him. You know, I like the way he speaks. I believe he's led Spurs currently to their best start to a Premier League season since 1965. They've actually recovered 7 points from losing positions this season, which Liverpool's only done better. They sit second. They're undefeated currently in the Premier League, having a good bit of run. As I said, you know, in terms of high intensity, only Manchester United are better than them at that certain metric you can see on the screen, people. In terms of turnovers. Now, obviously, Arsenal on the front foot a lot more, and we've earned the right to be on the front foot a lot more. And as I said, it's difficult not to like Postecoglou. He's actually crossed paths with Mikel Arteta during both of their times at the City Group. As I said, I admire him. I hate the team he's coaching, but I admire everything he speaks about. And as we know, he is threatened to scare the living daylights out of us. It'll be interesting to see just how Spurs match up, essentially. I think they're going to be confident. I think they're going to try and match Arsenal, because what option do you have? If they sit back, we'll pick them apart. I think both teams have to be wary on the transition. Set pieces are going to be vital. Both teams could concede and both teams could score a lot of goals. Mikel Arteta has said it's a new challenge and a new opportunity, and the fact that they have a new manager. Both managers have an admiration for each other, and I think there's a mutual respect, and I think it will be interesting. Like Spurs, we're currently unbeaten. I believe we're actually unbeaten in our 15 league games after European football, so I hope that remains the same. Spurs have 13 goals. We've got 9, so both teams could score. Spurs look stronger in that. It's not like they're missing Harry Kane at this moment. We're trying to get 3 consecutive league victories over them for the first time in how long? They haven't beaten us in 12 visits to the Emirates. Runs have to come to an end, and I'm sure Postecoglou, Tottenham Hotspur, and the players, you know, they've never been more equipped to do that. They've probably never been more confident. I'm sure you've all seen James Maddison's comments in relation to this game. It is going to firmly be a boxing match, and both teams are going to have to box hard, but also box smart. As you know, there's a lot of duels along the pitch as well, really and truly, collectively and individually. As I said, the transition and set pieces are 2 key things for me. Maddison versus Odegaard is probably the poster boy in all of these things. There's a lot of matchups, as I said, but there's Kulusevski against Zinchenko. There's Benjamin White against Son Heung-min, assuming everybody is fit from both teams. There's obviously Gabriel Jesus, what I'd expect against Romero, although you can't rule out Eddie Nketiah necessarily starting. James Maddison against Martin Odegaard is one that's probably the most interesting, really and truly. As you can see with the statistics, you know, there's not much that separates it. Maddison has been very good for Tottenham Hotspur. Odegaard's been a revelation. You know, in terms of chance creation, they're both up there. Martin Odegaard signed a new deal this week. Hopefully he can continue his rich run of form and mark that with a goal and a captain's performance. He's also won possession the most in the final third than any other player since the start of the season as well. Clearly, you know, Martin Odegaard tends to the right-hand side a lot more. Maddison tends to the left-hand side a bit more, and there's a bit, because Spurs are less creative, I think he has to do a lot more in that team, really. And again, when you look at the articles and statistics available via Opta. As you can see on screen, people, I'll leave you lot to read that in your own time. It is a very interesting matchup, both collectively, what both teams demand of the players, and individually their personalities. Really, again, if you think Maddison's better than Odegaard, I can't tell you anything, but I personally believe the class region is, putting my Arsenal cap aside, they're both two fantastic signings. I'm sure Spurs fans would take Maddison. I'm sure take Odegaard. I'm sure we would take Maddison as well. So it'll be an interesting, very interesting matchup, and it's going to be one for the ages. I, as much as you don't want to lose a game like this, I don't think it means much for either sets of players' season. They're going to have to get on with it. But momentum is a big thing in football. If both teams are able to stay unbeaten, whether that's a victory or a draw, it puts you in good stead. As you know, Tottenham have had a week to prepare. We've played against PSV. So we'll have to see if that's a factor in a game that will, in my opinion, come down to fine margins, people. And again, they're going to have to pay attention to that right-hand side with Saka and obviously Martin Odegaard. They've played 57 passes. That's the most common pass combination in the Premier League at this moment in time. Now, neither manager or analysis are idiots. They know they have to pay attention to Odegaard and Saka on that right-hand side. Likewise, we know Maddison and Doggy, the inverted fullbacks, we're going to have to pay attention, really. I keep saying set pieces. Where you look at set pieces, Spurs have scored a lot from set pieces, as have Arsenal. These are things that could come back to haunt both teams. I think both teams should be confident in being able to defend and score well. And I think both sets of opposition should be believing that they could do things. So yeah, Maddison versus Odegaard, although they won't compete directly with each other, will be an interesting one. From an Arsenal perspective, as you know, there's probably a lot of other talking points. Does Mikel Arteta go with Kai Havertz and the physicality that he provides, or does he go with Fabio Vieira, who has had decent performances in every minute he's really played? Really, I'll be keen to see who starts there. Does he go with David Raya, or does Aaron Ramsdale come back in? Do you go with Aaron Ramsdale's emotions and able to capture what it means to the fans in a North London derby, or do you elect for the cool, calm and collected David Raya, who started the last two games in all comps for us? Will Martinelli play a part? Arteta wasn't drawn on it. I don't expect Martinelli to, but you get the point. Where you look at the attacking thirds of both teams, really, most specifically Arsenal, there's some interesting statistics. We rank 42.5% on the right-hand side, 33.9% on the left, and through the middle, 23.6. That on the left, it will probably decrease with Martinelli's absence, and obviously Trossard will do his thing. Again, some other interesting stats. The key thing for me is Arsenal have only kept one clean sheet in their last 9 Premier League games against Spurs at home. And at the Emirates, we don't necessarily keep too many clean sheets. Arsenal and Spurs, this is one of the only times they've met where both teams are in the top four and unbeaten as well. Son Heung-min, apologies, who's going to have to step up in the absence of Harry Kane. He has 4 goals and two assists in his last 7 Premier League games against Arsenal FC. Now, we all know he's probably going to dive and get the customary North London penalty, but you get the point. Spurs have won none of their last 12 visits, losing 8 and drawing 4. They're going to want to put that right. They've kept just 1 clean sheet in their last 11 Premier League games and they've kept more clean sheets than us this season, but we've conceded less. And again, both teams are very good from set pieces, and this is where we're going to have to both exploit Spurs from one perspective and also defend amicably from another. I do expect to score. My prediction, I'm going to go with 2-1 Arsenal. I can't predict Spurs to win, really. You can't do any of that, but I felt these things were interesting. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts, really. As you can see with the several graphics on screen, it presents an interesting dynamic of both teams from set pieces. Now, I'm sure both supporters want both teams to be on the front foot and obviously dominate the game. It would be an interesting matchup, really. So where you look at the North London derby, at the time of making this video, 24 hours away from it, actually, the game would be 34 minutes in because it's 2:34 in the United Kingdom. There's many talking points. There's many calculations. We don't know what it's going to look like individually and collectively and stuff like that. And I'm sure you lot are rattling your brains trying to make sense of this exciting fixture. I think so far, Postecoglou's coaching a very well worked system, as is Mikel Arteta, and they're both producing very fine engines and systems and machines in their lineups. It's a game that you don't want to lose. Again, it's good for banter, but if we do lose, we're gonna have to get on with it. If we win, we're gonna have to get on with it. It's a game that you don't want to lose. It's a game that's going to divide families in North London, and I don't want to contemplate losing it. Will feel like a dark place, especially if we lose our unbeaten record to them, really and truly. It's a game where I'm sure a lot of you are going to be exiting or trolling in your WhatsApp groups, trolling family members. You know, my nieces are Spurs fans. Shout out my brother-in-law, but I'm onto all of them. And I hope we win. It's set to be a box office game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a very good game, and I think it's going to be the Premier League game of the season, if I'm completely honest with you. Let me know your thoughts, but I do need your help, people. I require your help. Please like, comment, subscribe, and help boost the YouTube algorithm. It doesn't cost a thing. I'm trying the thing.
There's always just that active red line defending. I think it's like